Hey everyone, we're here today to get some formative feedback on one of our assignments, the Declaration of Independence. So you can see this is covering Key Concept 3.2, and today we'll be focusing on the historical skill of interpretation. And so let's just kind of read this real quick. Historical thinking involves the ability to describe, analyze, evaluate, and create diverse interpretations of the past as revealed through primary and secondary historical sources by analyzing evidence, reasoning, context, points of view, and frames of reference. And so what this assignment, guys, had you do was obviously cover something super important, which is the Declaration of Independence, something you're obviously going to have to know. But secondly, it's kind of working on the skill of interpreting primary and secondary sources. So if we scroll down to part one here, the first thing you were asked to do was basically read two interpretations on the motives behind the Declaration of Independence. So obviously there's some really important content here, but also we're kind of looking at the skill once again of interpretation. You're looking at two historians' views on this, and you're basically being asked to identify what is each one of these historians' views. Okay, so first of all, we have Zinn. Okay, and this was written in 1980, and this is from his, classic book, A People's History of the United States. So a couple things about Zinn. What is Zinn arguing here? Zinn's basically arguing that the American Revolution was an upper class fight. Okay, that most of the things the British were doing was really kind of angering the upper class. Okay, not to say that the British weren't doing anything that upset the lower class, because clearly there probably was some anger, for instance, at the Proclamation Act of 1763 that kind of closed off land to settlers. So I'm sure that was something that really made Americans mad. But other policies probably really kind of irritated the upper class. For instance, a lot of the taxes really impacted the wealthy. And also, the restricting of colonial government would have also affected the wealthy more than it would have the middle and lower classes, because there are property restrictions on who can represent, people in government in most of the colonies. Okay, so Zinn's basically suggesting that the American Revolution basically started because the wealthy are really fired up, but in order for them to kind of win this revolution, they're going to need the help of the middle and lower classes. Okay, so they want to get the lower classes revved up, but what they want to avoid is obviously kind of getting some class conflict started. And we have to remember that early on throughout American history, there are some significant rebellions that take place that basically try to overturn the status quo in terms of the social class. We have Bacon's Rebellion, we have Stonewall Rebellion, we have Shays Rebellion, we have the Whiskey Rebellion. So clearly we can see that there is a lot of tension in the colonies and the states early on in this part of American history. Not to suggest that there's not tension right now in our society, that we live in right now. But anyways, that's kind of Zinn's point of view. Okay, is that the upper class, they need the lower classes to support them, and that's kind of their motive behind the Declaration of Independence. Okay, the other opinion put forth by Bailey here in the 60s here is he's basically suggesting that the colonists recognized that there was some kind of conspiracy going on here to take away American liberty. Okay, and the colonists see that in the Stamp Act and the Coercive Acts. They see the British kind of systematically taking away their rights. Okay, they don't have any say in how they're taxed. Their ability to speak freely and set their own laws, that's being taken away from them. Their property, like I said, is something that they hold very dear, and they find that very concerning that a government can just come in and kind of take all their stuff. Okay, we also see in Bailey's interpretation here, we see a little bit of American exceptionalism here, that the colonists kind of believed that they were special, that they believed that God kind of had a special plan for America, and that we were just basically destined to be great. Okay, so two very different interpretations of the origins of the American Revolution. Okay, kind of like a rah-rah America here on the right, and more of a cynical view on the left. Okay. So let's get to the Declaration of Independence, and we're going to cover this real briefly, but I like to break the Declaration of Independence into basically a breakup letter. So we have the first part here, where Jefferson essentially just kind of, makes the point of what is the whole purpose of this document. But the second part of the Declaration is kind of what I call the philosophical hammer. Okay, here's where you see a lot of things, a lot of ideas that basically kind of are America, okay, or what America is supposed to be, okay. So here you see the famous line, all men are created equal. They are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights that are among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So here we see a lot of John Locke here influencing Thomas Jefferson. Okay, we also see the belief in natural rights, which was once again something that John Locke believed in. Natural rights being that these are rights that come from God. Okay, and here we go to the next line. To secure these rights, the rights that he just stated, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, governments are created among men. Basically saying that the purpose of government is to secure people's God-given rights. Okay, and that's significant. Okay, because back in this day, I think we can probably see that governments weren't really too much, weren't very focused on securing the rights of the people. Okay, they might have been more about enriching the monarchy or enriching the elites, and that was kind of the whole purpose here. Okay, because rights are God-given, who are mankind to basically grant them or take them away is essentially what he's saying here. We also see this great phrase here, consent of the governed, basically saying that power of the government stems from the people, and that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, people have a right to throw down and abolish it. Okay, so this is the most significant part of the Declaration of Independence. The next couple parts here, we have the third part, which is the airing of grievances, where Jefferson basically starts to give all these examples of how the king or parliament have essentially, kind of shafted the Americans. Okay, we then go down to some of the other paragraphs here. Here, Jefferson, in the second to last paragraph, kind of points out that America, we tried, our best to reconcile with you guys, but you just didn't listen, yada, yada, yada. And then the last paragraph is the emphatic slamming of the door. We're through, we're done, there's no turning back kind of thing. Okay, so anyways, here's, like I said, a real brief kind of some formative feedback here on the Declaration of Independence. Thanks, guys.